Dobar dan svima, ja se zahvaljujem organizatorima ove konferencije i što su me pozvali i dali mi mogućnost da podelim neka svoja iskustva sa vama, i što su organizovali ovu konferenciju kao jednu dobru priliku da mi koji smo u regionu delimo neku sličnu prošlost, različite trenutne sadašnje situacije, korak nazad, korak napred, kako
situation which depends on a country-to-country basis. Still, we have the opportunity to hear a bit from each other, to learn something from each other. I also wish to thank the esteemed colleague, the previous speaker, he said we tried and then we were closed as an office. There's a similar situation. In Serbia, I was a deputy ombudsman and I resigned. I just couldn't work there. So, since several months have passed, I will speak about the realistic situation of these bodies in my country. And we can speak personally about my personal experience as well if you want to. So, a typical thing, if I may phrase it like that, for the situation in the countries of this region is that there is a certain legislative optimism. We believe when we adopt the anti-discrimination law, or when we amend the criminal code, or when we do something else, we believe that we've done a great thing, and we have, because there are conflicts concerning those things. But then we are far from reaching our goal. Then we think we have set up the institution. Now this is great. The institution will be implementing the law. And we will exercise fully human rights, we will protect the LGBT population. But naturally, I'm a bit skeptic at the moment, because I don't wish naturally to discourage anybody. I just wish to point your attention to some of the elements burdening the position of these institutions, not to become less optimistic, but to be more vigilant in using the services of these institutions in our expectations from them. Very often, such bodies are a display of the state, a showroom for the country's European integration process. We can tell the rest of the world we do have the Ombudsman's Office and the Ministry for Human Rights. We simply do not have any gay who has come out. Such bodies do not have the right political support quite often. They were set up and that's it. There are very few persons who wish for those bodies to truly be efficient, to truly be strong, to truly have a strong voice in their countries. From a legal point of view, their mandates, their actually terms of reference or duties, in other words, are quite unclear. In Serbia, we have the Commission for the Protection Against Discrimination, we have the Ombudsman's Office, and our internal interpretation is that the Ombudsman deals with good administration and the Commissioner's Office deals with anti-discrimination. But how to split these things apart, that's a bit unclear. And then it turns out the Ombudsman's Office doesn't deal with discrimination on the basis of gender and on the basis of LGBT rights, but Ombudsman deals with discrimination of national minorities or religious minorities, for example. Furthermore, quite often we are faced with lack of logistics. So the offices, the premises, the facilities, good staff, enough staff, that was always that is always lacking. There are quite clear expectations to keep on the sides. It seems messages are being sent like, don't interfere, don't cause any ripples on the pond, don't fight the interests of others. There are highly positioned political personalities from the ruling structures who give quite often negative public and negative remarks and opinions, which are simply turning the work of these bodies to dust, making them useless. There's a recent statement of a politician who was warned publicly because of discrimination of LGBT population, and he told calmly she shouldn't mind her own business, she shouldn't meddle with what I do. He's a mayor of a town. He doesn't understand that it is the duty of that person to do exactly that, to warn him publicly about such statements. He thinks, well, he simply doesn't understand what is the purpose of such bodies. They think they're just nice displays. Then there is internal resistance. There are cases of people employed who do not, they are not required to know a lot about this topic. They grew up in a homophobic environment. They attended homophobic universities. It is a problem that can be resolved by organizing trainings, but there is resistance also when it comes to trainings for employees on the topic or on the subject of LGBT population. And then there's a lack of, there's feelings of underestimating some people's value in such cases, and then strict interpretation of mandates such as proceeding strictly upon complaints without your own personal initiative. We are sitting in our offices and waiting for a complaint to be submitted. We won't be receiving many from the LGBT population or many from women themselves. I was the Deputy Ombudsman for Gender Equality and the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and we simply could not expect many complaints from Roma women. For example, when they went to social welfare center and persons attending them would not use gender-sensitive terms or gender-sensitive language. They were professors of universities will never complain to such things either, and there were very few cases of complaints in the field of gender equality, very few in the field of LGBT rights. And then some people can rightly say there are no issues in this field. Our twinning partners from the EU tell us, such as the Greek ombudsman, the Netherlands ombudsman, that if people do not complain, then there are no problems. It's a good excuse for the one in charge to say, but we do have hundreds of complaints to good public administration. And then this topic is left at the margins and even behind them. Furthermore, there's quite a complex issue, the relation of such institutions to the LGBT movement and women's movement. To some extent. My personal experience is that I didn't face any problems. I wasn't attacked. They were ready to cooperate upon invitation, but there was no initiative on their part. They didn't invite me to do something with them, but they responded to my invitations, not just by coming physically. There was work done jointly. So there's quite a lack of support on their part and lack of interest. For 9 months now, I am not a deputy ombudsman. The Republic level ombudsman does not have a deputy yet, nor a candidate for that office. And I can say that the women's movement and LGBT movement didn't do anything to try to propose a candidate. I don't wish to criticize the movement itself. It would be a bit general, but I have to say it's easy for them to get organized, to boycott something. But I have to emphasize this is an empty position. I didn't feel I could do enough in that position. Why don't you have a candidate? Maybe your candidate will not be supported by the state, but you should have one. If you don't have one, then you are not interested in that position at all. At the moment, there are no indications within those two movements movement that they're interested in proposing or nominating a candidate for the position of Deputy Ombudsman. Then we should be aware of the general societal environment concerning the LGBT population and in terms of analyzing the activities of independent bodies. At least these are unpopular topics. There is quite a lot of hatred. It is a topic which causes confrontations within the society, within various fields, confrontations within the politics, various generations, and there is permanent threat of violence. Initiating or opening questions related to LGBT rights is somehow understood as being contrary to national interests. If you're in favor of LGBT rights, you're against Serbian national interests. So let's move on. We can continue discussing this later if you want to. Media attacks to independent institutions which are incited by some political forces. If these institutions wish to be looked upon with favor by everybody, sometimes they are attacked by the media. So there's a situation of an entire institution disappearing from the media when there is a conflict with the government. So it's enough for me to see the press clipping for several days and I will know whether my previous institution is currently in good relations with the government or not on the basis of the amount of statements of representatives of that institution in the papers. There was an interview, for example, quite a free interview or quite free statements given by the Ombudsman. And there's an important person who said she's pretending to be the Ombudsman and the stupid journalists believe that there is media freedom in our country. In the entire process, EU integration process is really important. There's a predominant opinion that it is not an opinion which is important for EU integration, and on the other hand, completely different opinion that it is an ultimate request by the EU. So there are public statements that if that is a condition for the EU, then we don't want to be a member state, we don't need them. And there is quite an invisible support by the EU stakeholders and certain member states. There could be some support, but it's not quite visible. The role of the Council of Europe has not been used enough, according to my opinion. And then the relevant judgments of the court in Strasbourg are not well known. They are not translated into our language. They are not published. The lawyers, some of us who work in this field, we are familiar with them, but the rest of us are not. For example, we gave a proposal to the Ministry of Health for covering with mandatory health insurance the cases of sex change. Then it sounded like a huge statement, but then we had to inform them about several court judgments related to this field. These are facts. So our experience is on the lines of if we are to set up new institutions in the region, then they should be well equipped, they should have good mutual cooperation, and they should use the instruments, the tools at their disposal. There's quite a lot of readiness at the level of words. People in charge of these institutions have good speeches. When they meet representatives of the Council of Europe, they will not be deceived when communicating with representatives of the Council of Europe. But they are mere words, no activities to back back those words up, then a lot of expectations lead to public disappointments. Let me go back to the beginning of this meeting when we heard that this country will get a deputy ombudsman in charge of LGBT rights, and that the law was amended, and these are things which are to be praised, and I welcome these things. But since I am a person, well, with my background, professional background, I have to warn you about the dangers and possible obstacles on this path, such as the impossibility to be efficient in work, which leads to resignation, and it's not a personal resignation, personal disappointment as well. It is simply that the fact that the lack of efficiency of that institution and lack of efficiency of the legal system to do something through that or via that legal institution concerning the enhancement of LGBT rights is the main thing. Persons leading the institutions could be the main issues. They don't wish the entire institution to be identified in the public with those topics because it will attract public attention, and they feel, let's balance this a bit. Then they also take care primarily about how popular they are as political figures, about their reappointment. They're trying to give the best possible impression. They're not truly ready to deal with these issues. And we have to raise the question, a general ombudsman or a special ombudsman? The whole world said general ombudsman with deputies in charge of these things. And that concept has led me and those led me to resign. If the head is the one who has certain authorizations to say what, how much, when, taking into consideration all these things which are written down here, then it turns out that a specially authorized body could be much more efficient, but though we see it couldn't be continued in Croatia as it is. Okay, I finished my presentation. I can say I finished it now. If you have any questions, please do not refrain from